Hey guys, tonight we slip into the dusty, starlit world of ancient Sumer, where the gentle patter of rain outside your window blends with the soft bleating of sheep to lull you into a cozy daze. Picture yourself sprawled on a reed mat. The warm Mesopotamian breeze carrying whispers of barley fields and distant rivers. The air smells of damp earth and wool, and somewhere, a Sumerian hums a lullaby older than history itself. Fair warning, this tale of sheep counting and sleepy rituals is so soothing. You might not make it past the first ziggurat before your eyelids betray you. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I love knowing where you're drifting off from as the rain falls. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're lying on that reed mat now, in a small mud brick house on the edge of a Sumerian village, circa 3000 BCE. The rain's gentle rhythm taps the flat roof, mingling with the faint crackle of a hearth fire. Above, the night sky sprawls like a black clay tablet pricked with stars, each one a story the Sumerians swore was written by gods. You're not here for epic battles or chariot races. Those are for the adrenaline junkies. No, you're here to unravel the slowest, most hypnotic secret of ancient life: how the Sumerians counted sheep to sleep. And trust me, it's weirder and cozier than you'd expect. This isn't just a quirky phrase tossed around by insomniacs. Counting sheep has roots deep in the Mesopotamian dirt, where sheep weren't just livestock, they were life. The Sumerians, those clever folks who gave us the wheel and cuneiform writing, built their world around woolly flocks. By 3500 BCE, they were domesticating sheep in the Fertile Crescent, herding them across the Tigris and Euphrates floodplains. Historians estimate they had tens of thousands of sheep grazing near cities like Uruk and Ur. Their bleats a constant soundtrack. You can almost hear them now, a soft baa rising over the rain, lulling the village into a collective yawn. But why sheep? Why not count goats or, I don't know, clay pots? Here's the quirky bit. Sheep were so central to Sumerian survival that their rhythmic grazing became a kind of meditation. Shepherds, stuck watching flocks for hours, noticed how their steady munching synced with human breathing. One ancient tablet, yes, they wrote everything down, describes a shepherd numbering his flock to calm his spirit. That's right, the OG mindfulness app was a guy staring at sheep. Historians still argue whether this was a deliberate sleep trick or just boredom turned ritual, but the idea stuck, weaving its way into Sumerian bedtime habits. You shift on your mat, the straw beneath you rustling like a bad hotel mattress. Outside, a shepherd's flute trills faintly, a melody so repetitive It's practically ASMR. The Sumerians didn't have white noise machines, but they had nature's version crickets, river ripples, and those ever-present sheep. You imagine a tired farmer, back from a day of hauling barley, lying just like you are now. He's staring at the ceiling, his mind racing about crop yields or whether his neighbor's ox broke his fence again. Then he starts picturing his flock, one sheep at a time, each one plodding past an imaginary gate. 1, 2, 3. His breathing slows and the world fades. This counting wasn't just for farmers, Sumerian priests. Those fancy types who lived in ziggurats got in on it too. They believed sleep was a gift from Enlil, the god of wind, who sent dreams to guide mortals to honor him. They'd visualize sheep sacred animals in temple rituals parading through their minds. It's like they were manifesting a snooze button. You smirk, wondering if modern insomniacs scrolling TikTok could learn a thing or two from these ancient sheep fans. Maybe swap the phone for a mental flock and call it a night. The rain outside picks up, a soft drum roll that makes your eyelids heavier. You're not just in any village. This is Nippur, a bustling Sumerian hub where temples and markets hum during the day. Now, at night, it's all stillness, save for the occasional dog bark or a mother shushing a fussy kid. You picture yourself as that farmer again. Your day's work done. Your body sinking into the mat. The sheep are out there, grazing under the watchful eye of a shepherd who's probably half asleep himself. You start to count them in your head. 1 sheep, fluffy and slow. 2 sheep, nibbling grass. 3 sheep, tripping over a rock because, let's be honest, sheep aren't rocket scientists. Here's a little joke to keep you with me. Why did the Sumerian sheep stay up late? Because it was too busy fleecing the system. Okay, bad pun, but you're smiling, right? The point is, this counting thing wasn't just practical, it was cultural. Sheep were so woven into Sumerian life that their image became a mental anchor, a way to ground restless minds. You try it now, picturing a woolly critter ambling past. It's not exactly thrilling, but that's the point. It's boring enough to trick your brain into shutting off, like watching paint dry, but with better scenery. As you lie there, the village around you feels alive yet hushed. The Sumerians didn't have electric lights or Netflix to keep them up, but they had their own distractions, trade disputes, temple taxes, or worrying if the river would flood again. Yet, night after night, they turned to their flocks, real or imagined, to find peace. You wonder if they knew they were inventing a sleep hack that'd outlast their cities. Probably not. We're just trying to catch a few Z's, same as you. You roll over, the mat creaking, and let the rain's rhythm pull you deeper. The stars above Nippur twinkle, like they're in on the secret. Somewhere, a sheep bleats. And you smile, counting one more in your head. The night is young, and this Sumerian world has more sleepy tricks to share. Just don't doze off yet. There's a whole village out there, waiting to whisper you to sleep. You're still sprawled on that reed mat in your Nippur mud brick house. The rain's gentle patter, weaving through the night like a lullaby. The air smells faintly of damp clay and the smoky tang of a dying hearth fire. Outside, the Sumerian village is hushed, save for the occasional bleat of a sheep or the soft creak of a neighbor's door. You're sinking deeper into this ancient world, your mind drifting to how these people, farmers, scribes, priests, got ready for bed thousands of years ago. Their bedtime rituals weren't just about closing their eyes. They were a slow, deliberate dance to coax sleep from a busy world. Let's walk through their night, step by sleepy step, and see if you can keep up without yawning. The Sumerians took bedtime seriously, almost like it was a sacred event. Around 3000 BCE, when cities like Nippur were thriving, people followed routines to signal the end of the day. You start your evening by dousing the hearth fire, the embers glowing like tiny suns before fading to ash. The room darkens, and you fumble for a clay lamp, its wick flickering with sesame oil. The light casts wobbly shadows on the walls, painting shapes that look suspiciously like sheep, probably your imagination. But who knows, you chuckle, thinking modern folks would just flick off a light switch and doom scroll X for an hour. Not you. Though you're going full Sumerian tonight. First, you wash up. Water's a big deal in a land cradled by the Tigris and Euphrates, and cleanliness was next to godliness. You dip your hands into a shallow basin, splashing lukewarm water over your face and arms. It's not a fancy spa day. Think more splash and hope for the best. A quirky tidbit, some Sumerians used a paste of natron, a kind of natural soda, to scrub their skin, believing it warded off bad spirits. You try it, rubbing the gritty stuff on your elbows, and it feels like a DIY exfoliant gone wrong. Historians still argue whether this was about hygiene or superstition. But either way, you're squeaky clean and slightly baffled. Next, you change into your sleep gear. No fluffy pajamas here, just a simple linen kilt or a loose tunic, light enough to keep you cool in the Mesopotamian heat. You drape a wool blanket over your shoulders, its faint sheepy smell reminding you of those flocks grazing outside. The blanket's a luxury, spun from the wool that made Sumer rich. You smirk, wondering if it's the ancient equivalent of a weighted blanket, same vibe. Less Instagram hype. The rain outside keeps its steady rhythm, and you feel your shoulders loosen, the day's worries slipping away like river silt. Now, it's time for a bedtime snack. Sumerians loved their barley, and you grab a small clay bowl filled with barley porridge, maybe spiked with dates for sweetness. It's warm, stodgy, and about as exciting as oatmeal, but it fills your belly just right. Here's a mainstream fact. Archaeological digs in Ur show Sumerians ate barley-based meals daily, with evidence of clay pots holding porridge remnants. You take a spoonful, the texture soft and comforting, and imagine a Sumerian mom serving this to her kids, telling them to eat up or the moon god's sin might get cranky. Joke number 1. Why did the Sumerian kid hate porridge? Because it was barely tolerable. You groan at your own pun, but it's keeping you awake. Right before bed, you offer a quick prayer. Sumerians were big on gods, and sleep was under the watch of Enlil, the wind god who supposedly sent dreams. You kneel by a small clay shrine in the corner, muttering thanks for the day and asking for a peaceful night. Some folks, the quirky ones, left tiny sheep figurines at these shrines, hoping to count their way to divine favor. You place a little clay sheep about the size of a walnut next to a reed offering, feeling a bit silly but oddly soothed. The figurine's lumpy shape makes you laugh. Clearly, Sumerian sculptors weren't aiming for realism. The final step is settling in. You fluff your reed mat okay. Fluff is generous. It's more like poking it into submission. Some wealthier Sumerians had wooden bed frames, but you're keeping it real with the common folk. You lie down, pulling the wool blanket up to your chin. The rain's soft drone mixes with the distant bleating of sheep, and you start to picture them. Just like that shepherd from last night. One sheep, plodding along. 2 sheep, chewing grass. 3 sheep, probably plotting a jailbreak because, let's be honest, sheep are chaos agents. Joke 2. What do Sumerian sheep dream of electric shepherds? Okay, they didn't have electricity, but you're grinning, aren't you? Your mind wanders to how these rituals shaped Sumerian life. Unlike our world of blue screens and espresso shots, their nights were ruled by routine and nature. The absence of artificial light meant sunset was a hard stop time to wind down or stumble around in the dark like a fool. You imagine a Sumerian farmer, bone-tired from plowing fields, going through these same steps: wash, eat, pray, lie down. It's repetitive, almost hypnotic, and you feel your own breathing slow, syncing with the rain's cadence. The village outside is quiet now, the last stragglers tucked away. You hear a faint lullaby, maybe a mother singing to her child, the melody weaving through the rain like a thread. It's not complex, just a few notes repeated, but it's enough to make your eyelids droop. You try counting sheep again, picturing them ambling past a mental fence. 4 sheep, 5 sheep. The numbers blur, and the world softens. The Sumerians knew something we've forgotten: boredom is the best sleep medicine. No apps, no pills, just a bowl of porridge and a flock in your head. You shift on the mat, the straw poking your side like an ancient acupuncture prank. The rain keeps falling, a steady whisper that feels like it's washing away the day. You're not just some modern insomniac anymore. You're part of this village, part of a world where sleep was a ritual, not a chore. The sheep are still out there, grazing under the stars, and you're counting them, one by one, as the night pulls you closer to dreams. You're still nestled on that creaky reed mat in your Nippur home, the rain's soft patter a constant companion, blending with the faint bleats of sheep drifting from the fields. The air is cool now, scented with damp earth and the woolly tang of your blanket. You're sinking deeper into the Sumerian night, your mind wandering from bedtime rituals to the fluffy creatures that defined this ancient world. Sheep weren't just animals here, they were the heartbeat of Sumerian life, woven into every corner of their culture, from dinner plates to divine offerings. Let's stroll through the village and fields to see why these woolly wonders were the true MVPs of Mesopotamia, and why they're still lulling you to sleep. You push open your door, stepping into the cool night. The rain's a light drizzle now, speckling your tunic as you wander toward the edge of Nippur. The village is asleep. Mud brick houses dark, except for the occasional flicker of an oil lamp. You hear them before you see them. Sheep, hundreds of them, grazing in the floodplain just beyond the barley fields. Their soft baa cuts through the rain, a chorus that's both chaotic and oddly soothing. You smirk, thinking modern city folks would pay good money for this kind of white noise. Sumerians, they got it for free. Sheep were everywhere in Sumer, and that's no exaggeration. By 3000 BCE, archaeological records from Uruk show massive flocks, tens of thousands strong, supplying wool, milk, and meat. This is your mainstream fact. Sumerians pioneered large-scale sheep herding, creating one of the world's first textile industries. Wool from these flocks clothed everyone, from priests and ziggurats to farmers like you. You tug at your blanket. Its coarse fibers a testament to those ancient shepherds. Without sheep, Sumer's economy would have been as shaky as a reed boat in a storm. You trudge closer to the flock, your sandals squelching in the muddy grass. A shepherd, barely visible in the moonlight, leans on his staff, half asleep himself. You wonder how he keeps track of all these animals. Here's the quirky bit Sumerians used: clay tokens, little balls or cones to count their sheep. An early form of bookkeeping. One token equaled one sheep, stored in clay envelopes like the world's most boring piggy bank. You imagine dropping a token for every sheep you see, your hands full of lumpy clay. Historians still argue whether these tokens were just for accounting or had ritual meaning, maybe even tied to sleep counting traditions. Either way, it's a lot of paperwork for fluffy animals. You pause, watching the sheep munch grass with the enthusiasm of a toddler eating broccoli. Their rhythm is hypnotic chew, step, chew, step, like a living metronome. You get why shepherds started counting them to stay sane. It's not just about numbers. It's about sinking into the monotony, letting the repetition dull your brain. You try it, whispering to yourself, one sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep. Your eyelids droop, and you stifle a yawn. Joke number 1. Why don't Sumerian sheep ever get lost because they're always flocking together? You chuckle. The sound swallowed by the rain. Sheep weren't just for wool and cheese, they were sacred too. You glance toward the distant ziggurat, its silhouette looming against the starry sky. Temples, like the one in Nippur, kept their own flocks, offering lambs to gods like Inanna or Enlil. You picture a priest, all serious in his fringed robe, leading a sheep to the altar, probably muttering about how it better not poop on the sacred steps. That sheep's wool might end up as a divine offering, or its milk churned into butter for rituals. You wonder if the gods ever got tired of sheep-themed gifts. Probably not. They were the ultimate status symbol. You turn back to the flock, your feet sinking slightly in the damp earth. The rain's picked up again, a steady drizzle that makes the sheep's wool glisten like tiny stars. You think about how sheep shaped Sumerian stories, too. They're poets, well. Scribes with a flair for drama wrote epics where heroes compared loyal friends to faithful ewes. You grin, imagining a Sumerian bard trying to make sheep sound epic. Joke 2, what's a Sumerian sheep's favorite poem? The Fleece of Gilgamesh. Okay, you're laughing, but don't wake the village. The cultural obsession with sheep went beyond practicalities. They were symbols of abundance, fertility, even peace. When a Sumerian king wanted to flex, he'd boast about his flocks, not his chariots. You recall that wool blanket from your bedtime ritual. Its warmth, a quiet nod to this legacy. It's not just a blanket, it's a piece of Sumer's soul, spun from the animals that kept this civilization humming. You try counting again. 4 sheep, 5 sheep, the numbers blur, and you feel your shoulders relax. The rain's rhythm syncing with your breath. You wander back toward your house, the flock fading into the dark. The shepherd's flute starts up again, a sleepy tune that feels like it's chasing you to bed. You think about how sheep weren't just livestock. They were companions in the Sumerian night. Their presence a constant, grounding force. No wonder they became the go-to image for sleep. You picture a farmer, lying on his mat, just like you were, counting his flock to drown out worries about floods or taxes. It's a trick as old as dirt, and it's working on you now. The village is silent as you slip back inside. The rain, a soft curtain behind you. You settle on your mat, pulling that wool blanket tighter. The sheep are still out there, grazing under the stars, and you're counting them in your head. 6 sheep, 7 sheep. The world softens, and you wonder if you're dreaming already. The Sumerians made sheep the center of their world, and tonight, they're the center of your sleepy escape. Keep counting, and let the rain carry you deeper. You're back on that reed mat in your Nippur mud brick house, the rain's steady drizzle tapping the roof like a patient metronome. The air is thick with the scent of damp wool and cooling embers, and the distant bleats of sheep weave through the night, pulling you deeper into Sumer's sleepy embrace. You've seen how sheep were the backbone of this ancient world, but now your mind drifts to the peculiar habit that's been teasing you since we started counting sheep to sleep. Where did this idea come from? And why did it stick in Sumerian heads like a catchy tune? Let's wander into the fields and minds of these ancient insomniacs to uncover the quirky roots of this bedtime trick. And maybe you'll doze off trying. You ease off the mat, your bare feet brushing the cool clay floor, and slip outside. The rain's a soft mist now, kissing your face as you head toward the floodplain where the sheep graze. The stars peek through clouds, and you spot a shepherd, his silhouette slumped against a palm tree, staff in hand. He's staring at his flock, lips moving silently, and you realize he's counting. Not out loud, just in his head. One sheep at a time. You smirk, thinking he looks like he's fighting a losing battle with sleep himself. This, right here, is where the counting sheep thing was born. And it's as Sumerian as cuneiform. Let's get to the mainstream fact. Sumerians were among the first to domesticate sheep, around 3500 BCE, and their herding practices shaped daily life. Shepherds spent hours, sometimes days, watching flocks, tracking every ewe and lamb to protect them from wolves or thieves. This wasn't just a job, it was a lifestyle, and counting was its rhythm. You picture yourself in the shepherd's sandals, eyes scanning the flock, tallying each woolly head. 1, 2, 3, it's tedious. Sure, but there's a strange calm in the repetition, like flipping through a boring book until your eyelids sag. Now, for the quirky tidbit, some Sumerian shepherds used sleep counts as a deliberate trick to unwind. Clay tablets from Lagash, dated around 2800 BCE, mention shepherds numbering flocks to still the heart. It's not exactly a bedtime story, but it's close, a mental exercise to quiet a racing mind. You imagine a shepherd, stressed about a sick lamb or a looming tax, sitting under the stars and counting 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep. The monotony was like a warm bath for the brain, and it spread from fields to villages. Historians still argue whether this was a widespread habit or just a quirk of a few overtired herders. But you're betting it caught on because, well, it works. You try it now. Standing in the damp grass, the rain's whisper mingling with the sheep's soft boss. 1 sheep waddles past, its wool matted from the drizzles. 2 sheep, nibbling a stubborn patch of grass. 3 sheep, tripping over a rock. Because, let's face it, sheep aren't winning any grace awards. You chuckle. And here's joke number 1. Why did the Sumerian sheep get bad at counting? It kept fleecing the numbers. The pun's awful. But it keeps you awake, doesn't it? The counting's doing its job. though your breathing slows and the world feels a little softer, like the edges are blurring. You wander closer to the flock, the ground squelching under your sandals. The shepherd glances at you, his face weathered like old leather, and you wonder what he's thinking. Maybe he's picturing each sheep as a token, like those clay ones you heard about, each one a step toward peace. You think about how this habit wasn't just practical, it was almost spiritual. Sumerians saw patterns everywhere, from stars to rivers, and counting sheep was another way to impose order on chaos. You try it again. 4 sheep, 5 sheep. It's not thrilling, but that's the point. It's like watching a loading screen, boring enough to trick your brain into standby mode. The rain picks up, a gentle patter that makes the sheep huddle closer, their wool glistening like wet pebbles. You think about how this counting trick wasn't just for shepherds, farmers, merchants. Even priests picked it up, lying on their mats and imagining flocks to drown out worries about crops or temple debts. You picture a scribe, his fingers stained with reed ink, counting sheep to forget a botched tablet. Joke 2, what do Sumerian scribes and sheep have in common? They both make mistakes in the dark. You grin, shaking your head, but the image sticks. This habit's roots run deep, tangled in Sumer's obsession with numbers. They invented one of the first numerical systems, using base 60 for everything from trade to astronomy. Counting sheep was just another way to harness that love of order, turning a mundane task into a sleep aid. You wonder if they knew they were on to something timeless, something that'd outlast their ziggurats. Probably not. They were just trying to catch a nap. Same as you. You count again. 6 sheep. 7 sheep. The rhythm syncs with the rain, and you feel your shoulders loosen, the night wrapping around you like that wool blanket back home. You turn back toward the village, the flock fading into the misty dark. The shepherd's still there, counting silently, and you feel a weird kinship with him. He's not some ancient artifact, he's just a guy, tired and human, using the same trick you're trying now. The rain's steady drone pulls you along, and you think about how this counting thing is more than a gimmick. It's a bridge to Sumer, a way to feel the pulse of a world long gone. You count 1 more 8 sheep, plodding along. Your eyelids are heavy now, and the village waits, quiet and sleepy, ready to pull you deeper. You're trudging back through the damp grass, the rain's soft patter a steady whisper as you leave the floodplain behind. The Sumerian village of Nippur looms ahead, its mud brick houses dark under a sky pricked with stars. The sheep's faint bleats follow you, a reminder of that counting trick you've been playing with. 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep. Your sandals squish in the mud, and you're half tempted to lie down right here and let the rain lull you to sleep. But the night's got more to show you. You're joining the shepherds now, those unsung heroes of Sumer, as they keep watch over their flocks under the moonlight. Their starlit vigil is more than a job. It's a quiet, hypnotic rhythm that's practically begging you to doze off. You reach the edge of the fields where a shepherd named Enki, let's call him that. It's a common Sumerian name, leans on his crooked staff. His cloak is damp, wool clinging to his shoulders, and his eyes scan the flock with the kind of focus you wish you had during Zoom meetings. The sheep are scattered across the plain, their white coats glowing faintly in the moonlight like lazy clouds. You sidle up, trying not to spook the flock, and Enki gives you a nod, his face creased with lines that say he's seen too many sunrises. You're here to see what his night's like. And spoiler alert, it's the coziest kind of boring. Shepherding was a big deal in Sumer. And here's your mainstream fact. By 3000 BCE, shepherds managed flocks that supplied wool for Sumer's booming textile trade, with records from Ur showing single herds numbering over 1,000. Enki's job isn't just watching sheep, it's guarding Sumer's wealth. You watch him pace slowly, his staff tapping the ground, counting each ewe and lamb in his head. 1, 2, 3. You join in, mimicking his rhythm, and it's like sinking into a warm bath. The rain's gentle drone and the sheep's soft boss make you wonder if Enki ever nods off on the job. Probably, but you're not snitching. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some shepherds carved tally marks on their staffs to track their counts, not just for inventory, but to stay awake. You peer at Enki's staff, noticing faint notches scratched into the wood, each one a sheep he's mentally herded. It's like an ancient Fitbit, but for insomnia. Historians still argue whether these marks were practical or part of a ritual to honor Nana, the moon god who watched over flocks. You imagine Enki muttering prayers to Nana, asking for calm sheep and no wolves. You try carving a notch with your thumbnail, but it's harder than it looks, and you give up. Feeling like a failed artisan, you settle on a flat rock, the damp seeping through your tunic, and watch the sheep shuffle along. Their movements are slow, almost choreographed graze. Step, graze, step. You count again 4 sheep, 5 sheep. It's mind-numbingly dull. And that's the magic. Your brain, starved for excitement, starts to power down. Joke number 1. Why is a Sumerian shepherd so calm? Because he's got enough patience. You snicker, glancing at Enki, but he's too busy staring at a sheep that's wandered too far. He whistles sharply, and the stray trots back, looking mildly offended. The moonlight bathes the plain, turning the flock into a sea of silvery fluff. You think about how shepherds like Enki weren't just babysitting animals, they were part of Sumer's nighttime pulse. While the village sleeps, they're out here, keeping the economy alive. You picture Enki's life, days of herding, nights of counting, maybe a quick nap under a palm tree when the sheep behave. It's repetitive, sure, but there's a peace in it, like folding laundry or scrolling through a playlist. You try counting again 6 sheep, 7 sheep. The rain's rhythm syncs with your breath, and you feel your shoulders slump. Enki starts humming, a low, droning tune that blends with the rain and sheep noises. It's not exactly chart-topping, but it's soothing, like an ancient lullaby. You wonder if he's singing to the flock or himself, keeping the night's loneliness at bay. Sumerians believed the moon influenced sleep, and shepherds often worked by its light, their schedules tied to lunar cycles. You glance up at the crescent moon, half hidden by clouds, and feel a pang of respect for Enki. He's out here, rain or shine, making sure the flock's safe so you can have that wool blanket back home. You shift on the rock, your tunic now officially soggy, and think about how this shepherd's life shaped the counting sheep trick. It's not just about numbers, it's about rhythm, focus, calm. You count 8 sheep, 9 sheep. Your eyelids are heavier now, and you're starting to get why this works. Joke 2. What's a sheep's favorite bedtime story? The one where it flees the wolf. You grin, but Enki's unfazed, still humming his tune. You wonder if he's counting in his head, too, or if he's past that, his mind as quiet as the plain. The rain slows to a misty drizzle, and the flock seems to settle, huddling closer together. Enki paces again, his staff tapping softly, and you feel like you're part of his world, sharing this quiet vigil. The sheep are more than livestock, they're companions. Their steady presence, a lifeline in the dark. You count 1 more 10 sheep, plodding along. The night feels endless, but in a good way. Like you could stay here forever, wrapped in rain and moonlight. The village is waiting, but for now, you're with Enki, counting sheep and chasing sleep. You're still out here on the soggy plain, perched on that damp rock. The rain's gentle drizzle cloaking you in a misty hug. The Sumerian night wraps around you, cool and quiet, with the sheep's soft bleats and Enki, the shepherd's faint humming weaving through the air. Your tunic's soaked, but you don't care. You're too busy counting sheep in your head. 1, 2, 3, each woolly shape pulling you closer to sleep. You've seen how shepherds like Enki live for their flocks. But now, your mind shifts to the bigger picture. How these sheep weren't just fluffy friends, but the economic backbone of Sumer. Let's wander through the woolly wealth of this ancient world, where sheep meant power, prosperity, and maybe a few extra Z's. You stand, stretching your stiff legs, and follow Enki as he herds the flock toward a low hill. The rain's a fine mist now, speckling your face like a soft kiss, and the moonlight paints the sheep in silvery glows. You're not just looking at animals, you're seeing walking gold. In Sumer, around 3000 BCE, sheep were the engine of wealth. Here's your mainstream fact: archaeological records from Ur show that wool was Sumer's top export, with cities like Nippur producing thousands of textiles yearly. You picture looms clattering in every village, turning raw wool into tunics, blankets, and trade goods that reached as far as the Indus Valley. You glance at your own wool blanket, slung over your shoulder, its coarse fibers a reminder of this hustle. Every thread came from sheep like these, sheared, spun, and woven by hands that knew their worth. You smirk, thinking modern folks chase crypto or stocks. But Sumerians, they banked on fleece. You trudge alongside Enki, watching the flock shuffle along, and imagine the wealth they represent. Each sheep a unit of currency, a status symbol, a meal. Joke number 1. Why were Sumerian sheep so rich? Because they were always fleecing the market. You chuckle. But Enki's too focused, nudging a stray lamb back with his staff. Here's the quirky tidbit: Sumerians didn't just trade wool, they taxed it. Clay tablets from Lagash detail sheep tithes, where farmers paid temples with lambs or wool, like an ancient IRS with a fetish for fleece. You imagine a grumpy farmer hauling a bleeding lamb to the ziggurat, muttering about tax season. Historians still argue whether these tithes were purely economic or had spiritual weight. Maybe a way to thank Enlil for fertile fields. You picture a priest, all pomp in his fringed robe, counting sheep offerings like a divine accountant. You try counting again: 4 sheep, 5 sheep, each one a piece of Sumer's prosperity. The hill slopes gently, and you pause. The rains whisper, blending with the sheep's rhythmic grazing. You think about how this woolly wealth shaped Sumerian life. Markets buzzed with wool traders, their voices haggling over bales like Wall Street brokers. Temples hoarded fleece, using it to fund rituals or trade for lapis lazuli from distant lands. You imagine a merchant, his cart piled high with wool, dreaming of the bronze he'll buy. Your blanket feels heavier now, not just a cozy prop, but a link to this economic web. You count 6 sheep, 7 sheep, your breath slowing, the monotony sinking in. Enki stops to check a lamb. It's wool, matted from the rain. He mutters something, probably a curse about the weather. And you grin, feeling like you're eavesdropping on history. Sheep didn't just mean money, they meant stability. A good flock could feed a family, clothe a village, or bribe a grumpy official. You think about that porridge from your bedtime ritual, maybe flavored with sheep's milk cheese. Another gift from these animals. Joke 2. What's a Sumerian sheep's side hustle? Making unique cheese. You laugh softly, the sound lost in the rain, but it keeps your eyes open, just barely. The economic cloud of sheep went beyond trade. Kings flaunted their flocks in inscriptions, boasting of thousands of ewes, like modern CEOs flexing stock portfolios. You picture a royal scribe, scratching numbers on a tablet, probably exaggerating to make his king look good. The wealth trickled down. 2 farmers like you relied on sheep to barter for tools or beer. You count again, 8 sheep, 9 sheep, each one a cog in Sumer's machine. The rain's steady patter pulls you deeper, and you feel the weight of this world, where every bleat was a paycheck. You start back toward the village, the flock trailing behind Enki like a woolly parade. The ziggurat looms in the distance, its steps slick with rain, a reminder of the temples that grew fat on sheep taxes. You think about how this wealth shaped the counting sheep trick. It wasn't just about boredom, it was about trust. Knowing each sheep was safe, each number a promise of prosperity. You count 10 sheep, 11 sheep, your eyelids droop, and the plain feels like a dreamscape, soft and endless. The rain slows, a faint drizzle now, and the sheep settle, huddling under a cluster of palms. Enki's silhouette fades into the dark, his staff tapping faintly. You're part of this world, tied to its rhythms, its wealth, its sleepy secrets. The blanket on your shoulder feels like a badge, proof you're in on the Sumerian hustle. You count 1 more 12 sheep, plodding along. The night's quiet, save for the rain and your slowing breath. And the village waits, ready to tuck you back in. You're trudging back toward your Nippur mud brick house. The rain's gentle patter, a soft escort through the Sumerian night. The air smells of wet earth and wool. That blanket still slung over your shoulder like a badge of this ancient world's woolly wealth. The sheep's distant bleats fade, but their rhythm 1 sheep, 2 sheep lingers in your mind, pulling you deeper into a sleepy haze. You're not heading home just yet, though. Your feet carry you toward the heart of the village, where the ziggurat looms, its mud brick steps glistening under the moonlight. Tonight, you're visiting the temples, where sleep wasn't just a nap, but a divine gift, and sheep were more than livestock. They were sacred keys to the gods' favor. Let's step into this holy hush and see why Sumerians thought counting sheep might just please the heavens. You climb the ziggurat's lower steps, your sandals slipping slightly on the rain-slicked clay. The temple at the top, dedicated to Enlil, the wind god, glows faintly with oil lamps, their light winking like stars. The rain's a steady whisper, blending with the hum of a priest chanting somewhere above. You pause, catching your breath, and feel the weight of this place. Temples weren't just buildings in Sumer, they were the pulse of the city. Around 3000 BCE, as your mainstream fact, Nippur's temple complex housed dozens of priests who managed everything from rituals to taxes, and sheep were their star players. You picture a flock grazing nearby, their wool destined for sacred robes or altar offerings. You reach the temple courtyard, a wide space ringed with clay statues of gods and, yes, sheep. The Sumerians believed sleep was Enlil's domain, a divine pause between mortal chaos. You smirk, thinking modern insomniacs would kill for a god to bribe for better dreams. You step closer to a shrine, its altar piled with reeds and tiny clay sheep figurines, like the one from your bedtime ritual. Here's the quirky tidbit: priests sometimes counted these figurines during rituals, believing each one carried a prayer to Enlil for restful sleep. You pick up a lumpy figurine, its eyes two clumsy dots, and wonder if it's the ancient equivalent of a sleep app. Historians still argue whether this was symbolic or a literal sleep aid, but you're betting it was both faith and a good nap, Sumerian style. You set the figurine down, the rain's soft patter urging you to keep moving. The courtyard is quiet, save for a priest sweeping the flagstones, his robe dragging in the wet. You imagine him earlier, leading a lamb to the altar, its bleats echoing as he prays for the city's dreams. Sheep were sacred here, their wool woven into priestly garments, their milk churned for offerings. You think about that wool blanket. Its fibers may be blessed in a place like this. You try counting sheep in your head. 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep. Each one a prayer drifting upward. Your eyelids droop, and you stifle a yawn. Joke number 1. Why did the Sumerian sheep go to temple? To become an UFering. You chuckle, the sound swallowed by the rain. The temple's inner sanctum beckons, but you're no priest, so you linger outside, watching shadows flicker on the walls. The Sumerians saw sleep as a journey, a dip into the divine, where Enlil whispered truths through dreams. Priests took this seriously, burning herbs to cleanse the night air before bed. You sniff the air, catching a faint whiff of something like sage, probably from a ritual. You wonder if it worked, or if they just liked the smell. Either way, it's soothing, like the rain's steady rhythm, and you feel your shoulders relax, the ziggurats' calm sinking into you. You wander to a smaller shrine, its clay walls etched with sheep and stars. The Sumerians believed Enlil sent dreams to guide mortals, and priests interpreted them like ancient therapists. You picture a villager, maybe a farmer like you, kneeling here to ask why he dreamed of a runaway ewe. The priest probably said it meant pay your taxes, and you grin, imagining the guy's eye roll. Joke 2, what's a Sumerian priest's favorite dream? 1, with a flock-solid message. You laugh softly, but the shrine's quiet pulls you back, urging you to count 4 sheep, 5 sheep. The rain slows to a misty drizzle, and you think about how temples tied sheep to sleep. They weren't just offering animals, they were offering peace, a way to connect with the divine through rest. You count again 6 sheep, 7 sheep, each one a step toward that sacred calm. The ziggurat looms above, its steps fading into the dark, and you feel like you're part of something bigger, a world where every bleat was a prayer, every nap a gift. Your blanket feels warmer now, a piece of this holy hustle. You turn back toward the village, the temple's glow fading behind you. The rain's whisper follows, blending with the sheep's distant bass, and you're counting 8 sheep, 9 sheep. The night feels softer, like a dream you're already half inside. The Sumerians made sleep a sacred act, and you're starting to get it. Counting sheep isn't just a trick. It's a ritual, a way to touch the divine. Keep counting, and let the rain carry you deeper into Nippur's sleepy heart. You're wandering away from the ziggurat now, its sacred glow fading as you slip back into the quiet streets of Nippur. The rain's gentle patter follows, a soft curtain of sound that mingles with the distant bleats of sheep. Still echoing in your mind, 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep. Your wool blanket, damp from the drizzle, clings to your shoulders. Its earthy scent, a reminder of the temple's sheep-filled rituals. You're not ready to crawl back onto your reed mat just yet. Your feet carry you toward a scribal quarter, where Sumerians didn't just count sheep to sleep. They wrote about their dreams on clay tablets, etching sleepy secrets into history. Let's peek into this world of dream records, where the line between rest and revelation blurs, and see if you can stay awake through it. You duck into a narrow alley. The mud brick walls cool against your fingers. The rain's a steady whisper, and a faint glow spills from a low building ahead, a scribal workshop, where clay tablets are born. You push aside a reed curtain and step inside, the air thick with the smell of wet clay and sesame oil lamps. A scribe, his fingers stained with reed ink, hunches over a tablet, scratching wedge-shaped marks with a stylus. He's not writing tax records or barley counts tonight. No, he's recording dreams. Those fleeting gifts from Enlil that Sumerians believed held divine messages. You lean closer, trying not to drip rainwater on his work, and wonder what stories these tablets tell. Here's your mainstream fact. Archaeologists have uncovered thousands of cuneiform tablets from Sumer, some dating to 3000 BCE, including dream records from cities like Nippur. These weren't just diaries, they were sacred texts, cataloging visions to guide priests or kings. You picture a Sumerian, maybe a farmer like you, waking up and rushing to a scribe to report a dream about a runaway sheep. The scribe, probably yawning, scratches it down, noting every detail. 3 ewes fled under a crescent moon. You smirk, thinking it sounds like a budget horror flick. But to Sumerians, it was serious business, maybe a warning of drought, or a divine nudge to pay temple taxes. Now for the quirky tidbit. Some tablets describe dream incubation, where Sumerians slept in temples to seek visions from gods, often picturing sheep to invite Enlil's favor. You imagine lying on a temple floor, counting sheep 1, 2, 3, hoping for a divine PowerPoint presentation. It's like ancient lucid dreaming, but with more clay and less tech. Historians still argue Whether these practices were common or reserved for elite priests, but you're betting regular folks tried it too. Desperate for a godly DM, you count again 4 sheep, 5 sheep, the rhythm sinking in, your eyelids heavier with each number. You settle on a reed stool, the scribe's lamp casting wobbly shadows that look suspiciously like sheep. The tablet he's working on is small, maybe the size of a smartphone. Its surface packed with tiny wedges. You squint, pretending you can read cuneiform, and imagine it says something like, "Dreamt of a flock crossing a river, led by a star." Sumerians believed dreams were portals, and sheep often starred in them, symbols of abundance or divine guidance. You think about that clay sheep figurine from the temple, left as a prayer for good dreams. Maybe it worked, or maybe they just liked the vibe. Either way, it's cozy, and the rain-sucked soft drone makes you want to curl up right here. The scribe pauses, rubbing his eyes, and you feel a pang of sympathy. He's up late, immortalizing someone's snooze while you're barely keeping your own eyes open. You count 6 sheep, 7 sheep, each one a step toward sleep. Joke number 1. Why did the Sumerian dream of sheep? Because his brain was woolly exhausted. You chuckle. The sound muffled by the rain, but the scribe doesn't notice. Too busy smoothing his tablet. You wonder if he dreams of sheep too, or if he's sick of them by now, surrounded by their images all day. Dream records weren't just for priests. Ordinary folks had them too, especially if their visions seemed ominous. You picture a merchant, spooked by a dream of a black lamb, paying a scribe to write it down for a priest's analysis. The priest might say it's a sign to offer more wool to the temple. And you grin, imagining the merchant's sigh. Sumerians saw sheep as bridges to the divine. Their presence in dreams, a nod from Enlil or Inanna. You count again, 8 sheep, 9 sheep. The numbers blurring. The scribal workshop feeling like a dream itself. You think about how these tablets connect to the counting sheep trick. It's not just about boredom, it's about trust, about seeing sheep as safe, sacred anchors. You count 10 sheep, 11 sheep, your breath slowing, syncing with the rain's rhythm. The scribe starts another tablet, his stylus scratching softly, and you feel like you're part of this quiet act, preserving the night's secrets. Joke 2. What's a Sumerian scribe's worst nightmare? A tablet full of sheepish typos. You smile, but the workshop's calm pulls you back, urging you to keep counting. You step outside, the rain a cool kiss on your face, the scribal glow fading behind you. The village is silent, save for the sheep's faint boss, and you're counting 12 sheep, 13 sheep. The tablets you saw are more than records. They're snapshots of Sumerian souls. Their dreams etched in clay for eternity. You're starting to get why sheep were so central, why they slipped into dreams and bedtime rituals. The night feels softer now, and the rain carries you toward the village's sleepy heart, one woolly step at a time. You're weaving through Nippur's quiet streets. The rain's soft patter, a steady companion as it speckles your damp tunic and that wool blanket slung over your shoulder. The scribal workshop's glow is long behind you, but the image of those dream-filled clay tablets lingers, their sheep-strewn visions pulling you deeper into Sumer's sleepy world. You're still counting 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep, each number a soft nudge toward sleep. The village is hushed, mud brick houses dark, but you're not ready for your reed mat yet. Your feet carry you toward a healer's hut, where Sumerians tackled insomnia with remedies so peculiar they'd make your modern pharmacist raise an eyebrow. Let's poke around their ancient sleep aids and see if you can resist yawning through the weirdness. You duck under a low doorway, the air inside thick with the scent of herbs and something faintly sour, like old milk. The rain's muffled drone blends with the crackle of a small hearth fire, its light dancing on clay jars lining the walls. A healer, her hands stained with plant juices, sorts dried leaves on a reed mat. She glances up, her eyes sharp despite the late hour, and you feel like you've walked into an ancient apothecary. Sumerians didn't pop melatonin or chug chamomile tea. They had their own ways to chase sleep, and you're about to try them, or at least imagine you are. Here's your mainstream fact: Sumerian medical texts, etched on tablets around 2500 BCE, list treatments for ailments, including insomnia, often using plants like poppy and henbane. You watch the healer grind poppy seeds into a paste, her mortar scraping rhythmically. She mixes it with a barley beer, a common Sumerian drink, and offers you a clay cup. You hesitate, sniffing the murky liquid. It smells like regret and stale bread. Poppies were a go-to for calming nerves, but you're not sure about this brew. You take a pretend sip, feeling like a brave soul, and set the cup down, hoping she doesn't notice your wince. Now, for the quirky tidbit, some Sumerians swore by sheep milk cures for sleeplessness, believing a warm cup of ewe's milk, sometimes spiked with crushed dates, could summon dreams. You spot a jar of milk on a shelf. It's clay, sealed with a reed stopper, and imagine drinking it warm. The taste sweet, but unmistakably sheepy. Historians still argue whether this was science or superstition. Milk's tryptophan might have helped, or maybe it was just placebo with a side of woolly vibes. You picture a farmer, tossing and turning on his mat, chugging sheep milk like it's a magic potion. You count 4 sheep, 5 sheep, the rhythm soothing, your eyelids sagging. The healer hands you a bundle of dried herbs, maybe myrtle or coriander, and tells you to tuck it under your mat for dream protection. You sniff the bundle, its sharp scent cutting through the room's musty air, and wonder if it's supposed to ward off nightmares or just make you sneeze. You stuff it in your tunic, playing along. And think about that wool blanket from your bedtime ritual, probably spun from the same sheep whose milk you're dodging. Joke number 1. Why did the Sumerian sheep give bad milk? Because it was Udurly challenged. You chuckle. The sound soft against the rain, but the healer's too busy to care. Now, stirring a pot of something that smells like regret squared, you settle on a stool, the fire's warmth easing the chill from your damp clothes. Sumerian insomnia cures weren't just about herbs or milk. They leaned hard into rituals. The healer mutters a chant, asking Nana, the moon god, to bind the eyes of the restless. You imagine a villager, maybe a scribe from last night, lying awake worrying about a botched tablet, seeking this chant to quiet his mind. You try counting again, 6 sheep, 7 sheep, each one a fluffy prayer for sleep. The rain's steady patter syncs with the healer's chant, and you feel your shoulders loosen, the hut's cozy glow pulling you in. The Sumerians didn't have sleep science, but they knew stress kept people up. Their cures aimed to soothe the soul as much as the body. You think about that poppy paste, probably a mild sedative, but risky in big doses. The healer's careful, though measuring with a practiced eye. You wonder if she's got a cure for your modern habit of scrolling X at 2 a.m. Probably not. But counting sheep might do the trick. You count 8 sheep, 9 sheep. The numbers blurring. The fire's crackle fading into the rain. Joke 2, what's a Sumerian healer's favorite sleep aid? A flock tale of herbs. You grin, but the hut's calm pulls you back, urging you to keep counting. You think about how these remedies tied to sheep, from milk to wool, their presence a constant in Sumerian life. The healer starts grinding more seeds, her rhythm hypnotic, and you feel like you're sinking into the mat, the world softening. You count 10 sheep, 11 sheep, each one a step toward dreams. You step outside, the rain a cool kiss on your face. The healer's hut fading into the dark. The village is silent, save for the sheep's faint boss. And you're counting 12 sheep, 13 sheep. These insomnia cures, weird as they are, were Sumer's way of wrestling with the same sleepless nights you know too well. The night feels softer now, and the rain carries you toward the village's sleepy heart. One woolly remedy at a time, you're slipping through Nippur's quiet streets. The rain's gentle patter, a soothing backdrop, as it speckles your tunic and that wool blanket still draped over your shoulder. The healer's hut is behind you. Its strange brews and sheep milk cures fading into memory. But you're still counting 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep each number, a soft tug toward sleep. The air smells of damp clay and distant barley fields. and the village feels like it's holding its breath, wrapped in the Sumerian night. You're not heading back to your reed mat yet. Let's wander through this sleeping village, soaking in its nighttime vibes, where every house hums with the quiet rhythm of rest. But first, let's pause for a quick check-in with you. My cozy listeners. Hey everyone. We've reached the halfway mark. Have you drifted off to sleep yet? If you're still awake, drop a comment with your city and how you're feeling. Maybe tucked under a blanket with the rain sounds humming. I'd love to know where you're at as the Sumerian night unfolds. If you're already snoozing, I wish you deep, restful dreams filled with woolly sheep and starry skies. Either way, let's keep going. Easing back into Nippur's sleepy streets, the rain's soft whisper guiding us along. You step lightly, your sandals barely splashing in the muddy paths. The village is a maze of mud brick houses, their flat roofs glistening under the moonlight. Most are dark, but here and there, an oil lamp flickers through a window, casting golden slivers onto the street. You pause by one house, hearing a soft snore like a buffalo with a cold and grin, imagining a farmer dreaming of his barley crop. The Sumerians, around 3000 BCE, lived in tight-knit communities like this, with houses packed close for safety and gossip. Your mainstream fact excavations at Ur reveal homes with central courtyards, where families ate, worked, and slept, often sharing space with goats or, yes, the occasional sheep. You wander on, the rain's rhythm blending with the faint bleats from the floodplain. You picture a sheep, maybe one from Enki's flock, sneaking into a courtyard for a midnight snack. Here's the quirky tidbit: some Sumerians kept house sheep as pets, letting them sleep near the hearth for warmth and, supposedly, good luck. You imagine a fluffy ewe curled up like a dog, probably stealing porridge scraps. Historians still argue whether this was common or just a quirk of eccentric families, but you're betting it was both Sumerians loved their sheep too much to keep them all outside. You count 4 sheep, 5 sheep, each one a cozy piece of village life. You pass a larger house, its walls etched with clay seals, maybe a merchant's place. The door's ajar, and you peek inside, seeing a family asleep on reed mats, their wool blankets pulled tight. A child stirs, muttering about a lost toy, and you smile, thinking of your own bedtime rituals. That barley porridge and clay sheep figurine. The village's vibe is intimate, like a big sleepover. Everyone tucked in under the same starry sky. You count 6 sheep, 7 sheep, the rhythm sinking in, your eyelids heavier. Joke number 1. Why do Sumerian sheep love village nights? Because they're unanimously cozy. You chuckle, the sound soft against the rain, but the street stays quiet, undisturbed. The Sumerians didn't have street lights or late night takeout, so nightfall was a hard stop. You think about how this forced calm shaped their lives. No scrolling X to keep them up. Just the rain's drone and the sheep's boss. You pass a small shrine, its altar piled with reeds and a clay lamb. A nod to Enlil for good dreams. You remember those dream tablets from the scribal workshop, etched with sheep-filled visions, and feel a connection to this place, where rest was a shared ritual. You count 8 sheep, 9 sheep, each one a step toward the village's collective snooze. You turn a corner, spotting a dog curled up by a doorway, its snores rivaling the farmer's. The village feels alive, even in sleep. Its rhythms tied to nature, the rain, the moon, the flocks. You think about that sheep's milk cure from the healer, probably gulped by someone in these houses, hoping for a quick nap. Joke 2, what's a Sumerian village's bedtime rule? No flocking around after dark. You grin, but the street's calm pulls you back, urging you to keep counting 10 sheep, 11 sheep. The rain slows to a misty drizzle, and you pause, leaning against a wall, the mud brick cool under your hand. The village's nighttime vibes are hypnotic, a blend of snores, bleats, and rain that makes you want to curl up right here. You count 12 sheep, 13 sheep, your breath slowing, sinking with the night. Nippur is not just a place, it's a feeling. A sleepy hug from a world where sheep were family, and rest was a gift. The streets stretch on, and you're ready to wander deeper. One woolly step at a time, you're still drifting through Nippur's silent streets. The rain's soft patter, a gentle guide as it speckles your tunic and that wool blanket clinging to your shoulder. The village hums with sleep, its mud brick houses dark, except for the occasional flicker of an oil lamp. You're counting 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep, each number a cozy pull toward dreams. Those bleats from the floodplain echoing in your mind. You've soaked in the village's nighttime vibes, but now your feet carry you toward the fields, where farmers aren't all snoring. Some are up, tending crops under the moonlight. Their quiet chores, a secret pulse of Sumerian life. Let's join them in this moonlit hustle and see if their work lulls you deeper into the night. You slip past the last houses, the rain's whisper blending with the rustle of barley stalks swaying in the breeze. The fields stretch out, a patchwork of green and gold under the crescent moon. The Tigris glinting faintly in the distance. You spot a farmer, his silhouette bent over a ditch, guiding water from an irrigation canal. His name's Lugal, or so you decide. Sounds Sumerian enough. He's not sleeping like the rest of Nippur. He's out here, making sure his crops don't thirst. You shuffle closer, your sandals squishing in the muddy soil, and wonder how anyone stays awake for this. Spoiler, it's as soothing as counting sheep. Here's your mainstream fact. Sumerians mastered irrigation by 3000 BCE, building canals to water fields. with texts from Uruk describing farmers working at night to manage floods. Lugal's job is critical too much water, and the barley drowns too little, and his family starves. You watch him adjust a reed gate, the water trickling in a steady stream. Its gurgle mingling with the rain. It's repetitive, almost meditative, and you feel your eyelids droop just watching. You count 4 sheep, 5 sheep, picturing them grazing nearby, their rhythm syncing with Lugal's slow movements. Now, for the quirky tidbit, some farmers used moonlight charms, small clay tokens shaped like sheep or stars, buried in fields to bless crops with fertility. You spot one near Lugal's ditch, a tiny sheep half buried in the mud, its edges worn by rain. You imagine him planting it, muttering to Nana, the moon god, for a good harvest. Historians still argue whether these charms were practical markers or pure superstition. But you're betting they gave Lugal peace of mind. Like counting sheep before bed. You pick up the token. Its clay cool in your hand. And tuck it back, feeling like you're part of this ancient ritual. You settle on a dry patch of grass. The rains drizzle light enough to ignore. Lugal keeps working, his hands steady, guiding water like a conductor with an orchestra. The fields are alive with soft sounds, water, wind, the occasional frog croak, and you think about how these nighttime chores tied to the counting sheep trick. Farmers, like Lugal, up late, might have counted their flocks in their heads to stay calm. Each sheep a hope for wealth. You count 6 sheep, 7 sheep, your breath slowing. The moon's glow, softening the world. The Sumerians worked with the moon's cycles, planting and irrigating when its light was strongest. You glance up, the crescent moon peeking through clouds, and feel a pang of respect for Lugal. He's out here, rain or shine, keeping Nippur fed. You think about that barley porridge from your bedtime ritual, grown in fields like these, maybe tended by someone just like him. Joke number 1, why do Sumerian farmers work at night? Because the moon's their crop light, you chuckle. The sound lost in the rain. But Lugal's too focused, his hands never stopping. You stand, brushing mud from your tunic, and wander closer to the ditch. The water's flow is hypnotic, a steady trickle that makes you want to lie down and nap right here. Sumerian farmers didn't have tractors or apps, they had canals, moonlight, and sheer grit. You picture Lugal's life, days of plowing, nights of irrigating, maybe a quick sheep count to unwind. You count 8 sheep, 9 sheep, each one a fluffy anchor in the night. The rain's rhythm pulls you deeper, and you feel like you're sinking into the field, part of its quiet pulse. Joke 2. What's a Sumerian farmer's favorite bedtime crop? Barleyable dreams, you grin, but the field's calm tugs you back, urging you to keep counting 10 sheep, 11 sheep. You think about how these moonlit chores shaped Sumer's sleepy culture. Farmers weren't just growing food, they were weaving the rhythm of rest into their work. Their fields a mirror of the flocks that lulled them to sleep. You count 12 sheep, 13 sheep, your eyelids heavy. The rains whisper a lullaby. You turn back toward the village. Lugal's silhouette fading into the moonlit haze. The fields stretch on, their soft rustle a promise of harvest. And you're counting 14 sheep, 15 sheep. Nippur's nighttime world is more than houses and temples. It's these quiet labors, these moments of care under the stars. The rain carries you forward, and you're ready to slip deeper into the village's sleepy heart. One woolly step at a time, you're trudging back from the moonlit fields. The rain's gentle patter, a soft companion as it speckles your tunic and that wool blanket slung over your shoulder. The barley fields fade behind you. Lugal's quiet irrigation work still humming in your mind. Along with that steady count, 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep pulling you deeper into Nippur's sleepy embrace. The village looms ahead, its mud brick houses dark under a sky where the crescent moon peeks through clouds. You're not ready to sink onto your reed mat yet. Your feet carry you toward a small courtyard where Sumerian myths about sleep and gods drift like whispers in the night. Let's sit under a palm tree and listen to these ancient tales, where sheep and stars weave divine dreams. You settle on a damp reed mat in the courtyard, the rain's soft drone blending with the rustle of palm fronds overhead. The air smells of wet clay and faint jasmine, maybe from a nearby garden. A storyteller, an old woman with a voice like warm honey, sits cross-legged nearby. Her words meant for a few lingering listeners, or maybe just the night itself. She's spinning myths about sleep, the kind Sumerians told to make sense of their dreams. You lean back, counting 4 sheep, 5 sheep, each number a cozy anchor as her tale begins. Here's your mainstream fact: Sumerian mythology, recorded on tablets around 2500 BCE, describes gods like Enlil and Nana shaping mortal lives, with sleep seen as a divine gift. The storyteller's voice rises, recounting how Enlil, the wind god, breathed rest into humans so they could dream his truths. You picture Enlil, all stormy and majestic, deciding mortals needed a nap to stop whining about taxes or floods. Her tale paints sleep as a sacred bridge, a moment when gods slipped messages into mortal minds, often through sheep-filled visions. You smirk, thinking modern folks might trade their Netflix binges for a divine DM like that. Now for the quirky tidbit. One myth claims Nana, the moon god, gifted sheep to mortals to guide them to slumber, their woolly forms a symbol of lunar calm. You imagine Nana, perched on his crescent moon, tossing sheep down like fluffy care packages. The storyteller says counting them honors his gift, a ritual to invite peaceful dreams. Historians still argue whether this myth was widespread or a poetic flourish by some dreamy scribe. But you're betting it resonated Sumerians loved their sheep too much to ignore a lunar endorsement. You count 6 sheep, 7 sheep, the rhythm sinking in, your eyelids drooping. The storyteller's voice softens, describing how Enlil once sent a dream of a golden ewe to a king, foretelling prosperity. You picture the king, probably in Ur, waking up and ordering more sheep for his flocks, just to be safe. The tale's gentle cadence, mixed with the rain's patter, feels like a lullaby, and you wonder if she's trying to put you to sleep. Joke number 1. Why did Nana love sheep? Because they were his lunar tick fans, you chuckle. The sound muffled by the rain, but the storyteller keeps going, her eyes glinting like she knows you're still awake. Sumerian myths weren't just stories, they were guides, explaining why sleep mattered. The storyteller shifts to a tale of Inanna, the love goddess who once cursed a shepherd with sleeplessness for ignoring her. You imagine the poor guy, counting sheep desperately, 8 sheep, 9 sheep, trying to win her forgiveness. The myth says he offered a lamb at her temple, and she relented, sending dreams of starry fields. You think about that clay sheep figurine from the ziggurat, left for Enlil, and feel a connection to these tales, where sheep were divine messengers. You count 10 sheep, 11 sheep, your breath slowing, the courtyard's calm wrapping around you. The rain picks up, a steady drizzle now, and the storyteller pauses to sip from a clay cup. Maybe barley beer, or that sheep's milk cure you dodged. You think about how these myths shape the counting sheep trick. It's not just about boredom, it's about faith, about seeing sheep as gifts from gods like Nana. You count 12 sheep, 13 sheep, each one a nod to the moonlit tales spinning around you. Joke 2. What's a Sumerian god's favorite bedtime story? A flockbuster epic. You grin, but the palm tree's rustle pulls you back, urging you to keep listening. The storyteller starts another myth, this one about a star that turned into a sheep to guide a lost farmer home. You picture the farmer, stumbling through the dark, following a glowing ewe like it's a furry GPS. The tale's absurdity is soothing, its rhythm syncing with the rain, and you're counting 14 sheep, 15 sheep. Nippur's myths made sleep a divine act, and you're starting to feel it. The night softening like a dream you're already half inside. The courtyard's empty now, save for you and the storyteller, and you're ready to drift deeper into the village's sleepy heart. One woolly tale at a time, you're easing away from the courtyard, the storyteller's honeyed voice fading as you slip back into Nippur's quiet streets. The rain's soft patter clings to you, speckling your tunic and that wool blanket still draped over your shoulder. Its sheepy scent a reminder of the myths you just heard. You're counting 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep each number a gentle tug toward sleep. Those divine tales of Enlil and Nana swirling in your mind, The village is hushed, mud brick houses dark under a moonlit sky. But you're not heading for your reed mat yet. Your feet carry you toward a small house where children's bedtime stories float on the night air, softer than the rain. Let's peek inside and listen to these Sumerian fables, crafted to lull little ones into dreams. You pause by an open window, the rain's whisper blending with a mother's voice, low and rhythmic, soothing a restless child. The room glows faintly from an oil lamp, its light dancing on clay walls etched with simple sheep shapes. You lean closer, careful not to creak the mud brick sill, and catch the tale, a story about a lamb who wandered too far from its flock. The mother's voice is a gentle hum, and you feel your own eyelids droop. The rain's patter syncing with her words. You count 4 sheep, 5 sheep, each one a fluffy younger in this cozy scene. Here's your mainstream fact. Sumerian families. Around 3000 BCE, used oral storytelling to pass down culture, with tablets from Uruk mentioning tales told to children about animals and gods. These weren't just entertainment, they were lessons, teaching kids about loyalty, work, or the gods' whims. You picture the child, curled on a reed mat, clutching a wool blanket like yours, listening wide-eyed as the lamb in the story meets a kindly shepherd. The mother's tale paints the lamb as brave but foolish, a nod to Sumerian values of sticking with the flock, literal and figurative. You smirk, thinking modern kids get Peppa Pig, but Sumerian kids got epic sheep sagas. Now, for the quirky tidbit, some bedtime stories included counting songs, where kids named sheep in a flock to fall asleep, like an ancient lullaby with extra bleats. You imagine the mother singing, 1 ewe, 2 lambs, 3 graze by the stream, each line slower, softer, until the child's breathing evens out. Historians still argue whether these songs were widespread or just a Nippur quirk, but you're betting they were common Sumerians couldn't resist tying everything to sheep. You try it, whispering 6 sheep, 7 sheep, the rhythm blending with the rain, your shoulders loosening like you're the kid in the story. The mother's tale shifts. Now, about a sheep who befriends a star. The two wandering the night sky together. You picture the child giggling, imagining a fluffy ewe twinkling like a constellation. The story's absurd, but soothing. Its cadence a perfect match for the rain's drone. You think about that clay sheep figurine from the temple, maybe a child's toy before it was an offering, and feel a pang of connection to this world. You count 8 sheep, 9 sheep, each one a step toward dreams. Joke number 1. Why did the Sumerian lamb love stories? Because it wanted to be a flea celebrity. You chuckle, the sound soft against the rain, but the mother keeps weaving her tale, undisturbed. Sumerian bedtime stories weren't just for kids. They reinforce the culture's obsession with sheep and rest. The mother's voice describes the lamb returning to its flock, guided by the star. A lesson about community and trust. You think about those moonlit farmers from last night, working to feed this village. Their lives echoed in these tales. You count 10 sheep, 11 sheep, your breath slowing, the window's glow pulling you in. The Sumerians knew stories could shape dreams, just like the dream tablets you saw, etched with sheep-filled visions. This mother's fable is doing the same, lulling her child and you into a sleepy haze. You shift, your sandal catching a pebble, and wince, hoping you didn't wake anyone. The mother pauses, shushing the child, then starts a new story about a shepherd who counts his flock to please Nana, the moon god. You grin, recognizing the counting sheep trick. Now wrapped in a kid-friendly package, you count 12 sheep, 13 sheep, the numbers blurring, the rain's rhythm a lullaby. Joke 2, what's a Sumerian kid's favorite tale? One with a woolly, happy ending. You smile, but the house's calm tugs you back, urging you to keep listening. The story ends, the lamb safe with its flock, and the mother hums a soft tune, maybe one of those counting songs. You imagine the child, now asleep, dreaming of starry sheep, just like the myths from the courtyard. The Sumerians made bedtime a ritual, from porridge to prayers. And these stories were the final touch, a bridge to Enlil's dream world. You count 14 sheep, 15 sheep. Your eyelids heavy, the village's quiet wrapping around you. The night feels like a story itself, and you're ready to wander deeper, one woolly fable at a time. Abel, you're easing away from the house with the mother's bedtime stories, her soft voice fading as you slip back into Nippur's quiet streets. The rain's gentle patter clings to you, speckling your tunic and that wool blanket still draped over your shoulder. Its sheepy scent, a reminder of the lamb-filled fables you just heard. You're counting 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep each number, a cozy tug toward sleep. Those starry sheep from the stories dancing in your mind. The village is hushed, mud brick houses dark under a moonlit sky. But you're not ready for your reed mat yet. Your feet carry you toward a faint hum of voices and lamplight, where a night market hums with a gentle hustle. Let's stroll through this quiet bazaar, where Sumerians trade under the stars, and see if its calm can lull you deeper. You turn a corner, the rain's soft drone blending with the murmur of bartering and the clink of clay cups. The market is small, tucked between houses, its stalls lit by flickering oil lamps that cast warm shadows. Traders, wrapped in wool cloaks, haggle over baskets of barley, dried fish, and surprise sheep's wool The air smells of roasted sesame and damp earth, and you feel like you've stumbled into a sleepy farmer's market. Sumerian style. You weave through the crowd, careful not to bump a stall, and count 4 sheep. 5 sheep, each number syncing with the market's slow rhythm. Here's your mainstream fact: Sumerian markets, thriving by 3000 BCE, often operated at dusk or night to avoid the midday heat. With tablets from Uruk listing goods like wool and grain traded under temple oversight. You pause by a stall piled high with wool bales, their fluffy heaps glowing in the lamplight. A merchant, his beard flecked with rain, weighs a bale on a clay scale, muttering about prices. You think about that wool blanket from your bedtime ritual, probably haggled over in a place like this. Its fibers tying you to this gentle bustle. You smirk, imagining modern folks fighting over Black Friday deals. Sumerians just wanted a good fleece. Now for the quirky tidbit: some night markets sold dream charms, tiny clay sheep, or star-shaped tokens meant to ensure restful sleep. You spot a trader with a reed basket of these charms, each one the size of a coin, etched with crude U-shapes. You pick one up, its clay cool against your fingers, and imagine tucking it under your mat, like that herbal bundle from the healer. Historians still argue whether these charms were mass-produced trinkets or sacred tokens blessed by priests. But you're betting they were both Sumerians, love blending faith and commerce. You count 6 sheep, 7 sheep, the rhythm soothing, your eyelids sagging. You wander past a stall selling barley beer, its tangy scent tempting you to linger. A couple of farmers sip from clay cups, their voices low, probably griping about irrigation or taxes. The market's vibe is calm, not the chaotic daytime rush you'd expect. Nighttime trading was for locals, a chance to swap goods and gossip under the moon's watch. You think about those moonlit farmers from the fields, maybe stopping here after their chores to trade a lamb for tools. You count 8 sheep, 9 sheep, each one a fluffy piece of this market's pulse. Joke number 1. Why do Sumerian markets stay open late to catch the U-night crowd? You chuckle, the sound lost in the rain, but the traders don't notice. Too busy haggling. The Sumerians made markets a social hub, even at night. You pass a woman selling reed baskets, her hands quick despite the hour, and wonder if she counts sheep to unwind after this. The market's rhythm clinks, murmurs. The shuffle of sandals is hypnotic, like the sheep's grazing you watched with Enki. You count 10 sheep, 11 sheep, your breath slowing, the lamplight softening the world. You think about those dream tablets from the scribal workshop, maybe inspired by charms sold here. Their sheep-filled visions, a nod to this quiet trade. You pause by a stall with clay lamps, their wicks flickering like tiny stars. The seller, an old man with a crooked smile, offers you one, but you wave it off. Too sleepy to barter. The market's calm feels like a hug, a reminder that Sumerians worked hard but knew how to slow down. You count 12 sheep, 13 sheep, the numbers blurring. The rains patter a lullaby. Joke 2. What's a Sumerian trader's bedtime deal? A flock bottom price, you grin. But the market's gentle hustle pulls you back, urging you to keep wandering. The rain slows to a misty drizzle, and the market thins. Traders packing up as the moon climbs higher. You think about how this nighttime trade tied to the counting sheep trick. It's about rhythm, about finding peace in repetition, whether it's haggling or herding. You count 14 sheep, 15 sheep, your eyelids heavy, the stalls fading into the dark. Nippur's night market is a sleepy heartbeat, and you're part of it, drifting through its calm, ready to slip deeper into the village's quiet world. One woolly step at a time, at yours, you're drifting away from the night market. Its soft clatter of clay cups and wool bales fading as you weave through Nippur's quiet streets. The rain's gentle patter follows, speckling your tunic and that wool blanket still slung over your shoulder. Its sheepy scent a reminder of the dream charms you saw. You're counting 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep, each number a cozy pull toward sleep. The market's calm, lingering in your mind. The village is hushed. Mud brick houses dark under a moonlit sky. But you're not heading for your reed mat yet. Your feet carry you toward the ziggurats' base, where priests perform starry rituals under the night sky. Their prayers a sacred hum. Before we dive in, let's pause for a quick check-in with you, my sleepy listeners. Hey everyone, we've reached another milestone. Have you drifted off to sleep yet? If you're still awake, drop a comment with your city and how you're feeling. Maybe curled up with the rain sounds soothing you. I'm curious where you're at as the Sumerian night unfolds here in my world. It's 10 p.m., Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, and the rain's got me yawning. If you're already snoozing, I wish you deep, restful dreams filled with starry skies and woolly sheep. Let's ease back into Nippur, the rain's soft whisper guiding us to the ziggurat's sacred glow. You settle on a damp stone at the ziggurat's base. The rain's drizzle light enough to ignore. The temple looms above, its mud brick steps slick under the moonlight, and you spot a group of priests in fringed robes, their oil lamps casting golden flickers. They're chanting, their voices a low drone that blends with the rain and distant sheep bleats. You're here to watch their starry rituals, where sleep and sheep meet the divine. The air smells of wet clay and burnt herbs, maybe myrtle from a cleansing rite, and you feel like you've stepped into a sacred bubble, far from the village's snores. Here's your mainstream fact. Sumerian priests, around 3000 BCE, conducted nighttime rituals to honor gods like Nana, the moon god, with tablets from Nippur describing offerings of lambs and wool. You watch a priest lead a small sheep to an altar, its wool glistening in the lamplight, and mutter prayers for the city's rest. The sheep's calm, probably used to this, and you smirk, thinking it's got a better gig than Enki's flock out in the rain. These rituals weren't just for show. They were Sumer's way of securing divine favor, ensuring dreams and harvests stayed bountiful. You count 4 sheep, 5 sheep, each number a prayer of its own. Now, for the quirky tidbit, some priests used star counts alongside sheep offerings, gazing at constellations to track divine messages, believing certain stars signaled sleep's arrival. You notice a priest pointing at the sky, tracing a pattern, maybe a sheep-shaped cluster. If you squint, you try it, counting stars like sheep, 6 sheep, 7 sheep, the rhythm soothing, your eyelids sagging. Historians still argue whether these star counts were astronomical or mystical, but you're betting they doubled as a sleep aid. Staring at stars is as boring as herding after a while. You chuckle, imagining a priest dozing off mid-prayer. The priest's chants grow softer, their lamps swaying as they circle the altar. The sheep's led away, spared for now. And you think about that clay sheep figurine from your temple visit, left to honor Enlil. These rituals feel like a grander version, tying the village's sleep to the god's whims. You count 8 sheep, 9 sheep, your breath slowing, the ziggurats' calm sinking in. Joke number 1, why? Why do Sumerian priests love night rituals? Because they're universally soothing. You grin, the sound muffled by the rain, but the priests keep chanting, their focus unbroken. Sumerians saw the stars as Enlil's script, each one a word in a divine story. You look up, the crescent moon half hidden by clouds, and wonder if Nana's watching this, approving the sheep and prayers. The priests burn more herbs, the smoke curling like a dream. And you think about those dream tablets from the scribal workshop, maybe inspired by nights like this. You count 10 sheep, 11 sheep, the numbers blurring, the rains patter a lullaby. The rituals are hypnotic, their repetition a mirror of the counting sheep trick, slow, steady, sacred. You shift on the stone, your tunic damp but cozy under the blanket. The priests start a new chant, their voices rising and falling like waves, and you feel like you're part of the starry rite, connected to Nippur's soul. You count 12 sheep, 13 sheep, your eyelids heavy. The ziggurats glow, softening the world. Joke 2, what's a Sumerian priest's favorite star? The one that flees as the night. You smile, but the ritual's calm pulls you back, urging you to keep counting 14 sheep, 15 sheep. The rain slows to a misty drizzle, and the priest's lamps dim, their chants fading into the night. The ziggurat stands silent. Its steps, a path to the gods. And you're counting 16 sheep, 17 sheep. These starry rituals made sleep a divine act. And you're feeling it, the night wrapping you in its quiet embrace. The village waits, its sleepy heart calling, and you're ready to wander deeper. One woolly prayer at a time, you're easing away from the ziggurat's base. The priest's starry chants fading into the night as you slip back into Nippur's quiet streets. The rain's gentle patter follows, speckling your tunic and that wool blanket still draped over your shoulder. Its sheepy scent, a reminder of the sacred sheep offerings you just witnessed. You're counting 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep each number, a soft nudge toward sleep. The ziggurat's glow lingering in your mind. The village is hushed, mud brick houses dark under a moonlit sky. But you're not ready for your reed mat yet. Your feet carry you toward a scribal school, where Sumerians pondered the science or magic of sleep and dreams. Let's dive into their ancient theories and see if their ideas about why we dream can lull you deeper into the night. You duck under a reed awning, the rain's soft drone muffled as you step into the scribal school. The air smells of damp clay and ink, and a single oil lamp casts wobbly shadows on walls lined with clay tablets. The scribe, older than the one you met before, sits cross-legged, reading a tablet by lamplight, his eyes squinting at cuneiform wedges. He's not writing tonight. He's studying, piecing together Sumerian thoughts on sleep, dreams, and the mind's nighttime wanderings. You settle on a reed stool, careful not to creak, and count 4 sheep, 5 sheep, each number syncing with the rain's rhythm outside. Here's your mainstream fact Sumerian texts from around 2500 BCE, found in Nippur. Include early theories about sleep, describing it as a state where the soul wanders under divine watch, guided by gods like Enlil. You imagine the scribe, maybe named Shulgi after a famous king, explaining this to students when you sleep. Your soul slips out, roaming fields or starry realms, collecting messages from the gods. You smirk, thinking it sounds like a cosmic vacation. Way better than your usual stress dreams about missing deadlines. The scribe's tablet might list dreams of sheep, a common vision, tying back to that counting trick you're hooked on. Now, for the quirky tidbit, some Sumerians believed dreams came from sleep spirits who lived in sheep's wool, entering your mind if you slept under a fleece blanket. You tug at your blanket, its coarse fibers suddenly feeling magical, and wonder if those spirits are whispering to you now. Historians still argue whether this was a widespread belief or a quirky theory from eccentric scribes. But you're betting it caught on. Sumerians saw sheep as divine. So why not dream weavers? You count 6 sheep, 7 sheep, the rhythm soothing. your eyelids sagging as you picture woolly spirits spinning dreams. The scribe mutters, tracing a line on his tablet, and you lean closer, pretending you can read the wedges. He's studying a theory that sleep restores the body by cooling the heart, a kind of ancient proto-science. You think about that sheep's milk cure from the healer, maybe drunk to calm a racing heart, and grin, imagining Shulgi testing it himself, yawning over his tablets. The Sumerians didn't have EEGs or sleep labs, but they observed, guessed, and wrote it all down. You count 8 sheep, 9 sheep, each one a fluffy nod to their dream-filled world. Joke number 1. Why did Sumerians study sleep? To catch some universal truths, you chuckle. The sound soft against the rain, but Shulgi keeps reading, lost in his work. Sumerian sleep theories weren't just mystical, they were practical. The scribe's tablet might mention how dreams warned of danger, like a flock scattering before a storm. You picture a farmer, dreaming of a lost ewe, rushing to a priest for interpretation, maybe the one you saw at the ziggurat. The Sumerians believed dreams were puzzles, and sheep were clues, their presence a sign of peace or prosperity. You count 10 sheep, 11 sheep, your breath slowing, the scribal school's calm sinking in. You think about those dream tablets you saw, etched with sheep-filled visions, and feel a connection to this quest for answers. The rain picks up, tapping the awning like impatient fingers, and you shift on the stool, your tunic damp but cozy under the blanket. Shulgi starts another tablet, this one about nightmares, blaming them on angry gods or bad barley beer. You grin, remembering that porridge from your bedtime ritual. Maybe it was the key to good dreams after all. You count 12 sheep, 13 sheep, the numbers blurring, the lamp's glow softening the world. Joke 2. What's a Sumerian scribe's worst dream? A flock up in his theories. You smile, but the school's quiet pulls you back, urging you to keep counting. The Sumerian sleep science was more poetry than precision, but it shaped their world, from temple prayers to bedtime stories. You think about that counting sheep trick, maybe born from these theories, a way to calm the soul's wanderings. You count 14 sheep, 15 sheep, your eyelids heavy, the rains patter a lullaby. Shulgi's still reading, his dedication a reminder that Sumerians didn't just sleep, they studied it, revered it, wove it into their lives. The scribal school feels like a dream itself, and you're ready to drift deeper into Nippur's sleepy heart. One woolly theory at a time, you're slipping out of the scribal school. The rain's gentle patter greeting you as you step back into Nippur's quiet streets. The air is cool, scented with damp clay, and the faint sheepy tang of that wool blanket still slung over your shoulder. You're counting 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep each number, a soft pull towards sleep. The Sumerian sleep theories swirling in your mind like starry dreams. The village is hushed, mud brick houses dark under a moonlit sky. But you're not ready for your reed mat yet. Your feet carry you toward a small courtyard where women weave under flickering lamps, their nighttime crafts a silent hum of Sumerian life. Let's join them in this cozy glow and see if their rhythmic work lulls you deeper into the night. You ease into the courtyard, the rain's soft drone blending with the clack of looms and the rustle of wool. A group of women, their hands deft despite the late hour, sit in a circle, weaving baskets and spinning thread by lamplight. The air smells of sesame oil and freshly carded wool, and you settle on a reed mat, careful not to disturb their flow. Their fingers move in steady patterns, turning raw fleece into thread. Then cloth may be destined for a blanket like yours. You count 4 sheep, 5 sheep, each number syncing with the loom's rhythmic beat. Your eyelids sagging. Here's your mainstream fact. Sumerian women, around 3000 BCE, were key to the textile industry, with tablets from Uruk showing they spun wool and wove cloth for trade and temple offerings. You watch a woman, maybe named Amma, card wool with a wooden comb, her hands pulling fluffy clumps into smooth strands. Her work is hypnotic, a dance of repetition that mirrors the sheep-counting trick you're hooked on. You think about that wool blanket from your bedtime ritual. Its fibers born in a courtyard like this, and smirk, imagining Amma rolling her eyes at your soggy attempt to stay dry. Now for the quirky tidbit, some weavers sang wool songs at night, soft chants naming sheep or gods to bless their thread, believing it gave cloth protective powers. You catch Amma humming, her voice barely audible, maybe singing, Ewi of Nana, spin my dreams. You imagine her naming each sheep in her mind 1, 2, 3 like a lullaby for her hands. Historians still argue whether these songs were common or a poetic flourish recorded by dreamy scribes. But you're betting they were real Sumerians, wove sheep into everything, even their music. You count 6 sheep, 7 sheep, the rhythm soothing. The courtyard's glow, wrapping you in calm. The women's looms clack softly, their threads stretching like tiny rivers. You think about how their work, tied to Sumer's wealth, those wool bales you saw at the night market, spun by hands like these. The Sumerians valued women's crafts, paying weavers in barley or oil, though you suspect Amma's muttering about getting shortchanged. You count 8 sheep, 9 sheep, your breath slowing, the lamplight softening the world. Joke number 1. Why do Sumerian weavers work at night? Because they're fleecing the moonlight. You chuckle. The sound muffled by the rain, but the women keep weaving, their focus unbroken. Weaving wasn't just labor, it was a ritual, a way to ground the night's quiet. You picture Amma at home, maybe after this, counting sheep to unwind, her hands still twitching from the loom's rhythm. You think about those dream charms from the market, maybe woven into cloth by these women. Their sheep shapes a nod to Nana's lunar gift. You count 10 sheep, 11 sheep, the numbers blurring. The courtyards hum a lullaby. The Sumerians made every act a connection to their world, and this weaving feels like a sleepy prayer, tying you to their lives. The rain picks up, tapping the courtyard's reed canopy, and you shift on the mat, your tunic damp but cozy under the blanket. A younger weaver, maybe Amma's daughter, starts spinning thread, her spindle twirling like a tiny planet. You wonder if she dreams of sheep, like those dream tablets you saw, their woolly forms spinning through her mind. You count 12 sheep, 13 sheep, your eyelids heavy, the looms clack fading into the rain. Joke 2. What's a Sumerian weaver's favorite thread? One that's woolly dreamy. You smile, but the courtyard's calm pulls you back, urging you to keep counting. The women's work is endless, their hands never still, and you feel a pang of respect for their quiet strength. They're not just making cloth, they're weaving Nippur's soul, thread by thread, sheep by sheep. You count 14 sheep, 15 sheep, the night softening like a dream. You're half inside. The courtyard feels like a haven, its glow a shield against the dark. And you're part of this rhythm, drifting through the Sumerian night, ready to slip deeper into the village's sleepy heart, one woolly thread at a time. You're drifting away from the weaver's courtyard, the soft clack of looms fading as you slip back into Nippur's quiet streets. The rain's gentle patter follows, speckling your tunic and that wool blanket still slung over your shoulder. Its sheepy scent a reminder of the thread spun under lamplight. You're counting 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep, each number a cozy tug toward sleep. The weaver's rhythmic hum lingering in your mind. The village is hushed, mud brick houses dark under a moonlit sky. But you're not ready for your reed mat yet. Your feet carry you toward a scribal workshop, where scribes burn the midnight oil. Their late-night work, a silent pulse of Sumerian life. Let's peek inside and see if their candlelit scribbling can lull you deeper into the night. You push aside a reed curtain, the rain's soft drone muffled as you step into the workshop. The air smells of damp clay and sesame oil, and a single candle casts flickering shadows on walls lined with clay tablets. A scribe, his fingers stained with reed ink, hunches over a tablet, scratching cuneiform wedges with a stylus. He's not writing dreams tonight, he's tallying sheep counts or temple taxes. His eyes heavy with the late hour. You settle on a reed stool, careful not to creak, and count 4 sheep, 5 sheep, each number syncing with the scribe's steady scratches, your eyelids sagging. Here's your mainstream fact. Sumerian scribes, around 3000 BCE, were the backbone of administration, with tablets from Nippur recording everything from trade to livestock, often working at night to meet deadlines. You watch the scribe, maybe named Enki after that shepherd, mark a tablet with sheep tallies, each wedge a ewe or lamb. His work keeps Nippur running, tracking the wool that fueled the market you wandered through. You think about that wool blanket, its fibers counted by hands like his, and smirk, imagining him muttering about deadlines like a modern office worker burning out at 2 a.m. Now, for the quirky tidbit, some scribes kept sleep tokens, tiny clay sheep tucked in their robes, to count during breaks, believing it calmed their minds for better work. You spot one on the scribe's mat, a lumpy ewe the size of a grape, and imagine him fingering it, whispering 1 sheep, 2 sheep. Historians still argue whether these tokens were stress relievers or ritual charms for Enlil's favor. But you're betting they were both Sumerians loved their sheep, even in miniature. You count 6 sheep, 7 sheep, the rhythm soothing. The candles glow, wrapping you in calm. The scribe pauses, rubbing his eyes, and you feel a pang of sympathy. He's up late, just like the weavers, his candle burning low as he fights sleep. You picture him earlier, maybe sipping that sheep's milk cure from the healer to stay awake, or counting sheep to unwind before this grind. You count 8 sheep, 9 sheep, your breath slowing, the workshop's quiet sinking in. Joke number 1. Why do Sumerian scribes work at night? Because their ewes sing every moment. You chuckle, the sound soft against the rain. But the scribe keeps scratching, lost in his wedges. Scribal work wasn't just clerical, it was sacred, tying Nippur to the gods through records. You think about those dream tablets you saw, maybe written by this scribe's teacher, their sheep-filled visions, a nod to the flocks he's tallying now. The Sumerians saw order in numbers, and scribes like Enki were its keepers. Their tablets, a bridge to the divine. You count 10 sheep, 11 sheep, the numbers blurring. The candles flicker, softening the world. You imagine Enki at home, counting sheep to drown out the stress of a botched wedge, just like you're doing now. The rain taps the roof, a steady rhythm that blends with the scribe's stylus. You shift on the stool, your tunic damp but cozy under the blanket, and wonder if Enki dreams of sheep, their woolly forms marching through his sleep. You count 12 sheep, 13 sheep, your eyelids heavy. The workshops hum a lullaby. Joke 2. What's a Sumerian scribe's favorite bedtime count? A flock-tight tally. You grin, but the quiet pulls you back, urging you to keep counting. 14 sheep, 15 sheep. The scribe starts a new tablet, his stylus moving slower now. and you feel like you're part of this late-night grind. Preserving Nippur's pulse, the Sumerians made every task a ritual, from weaving to writing. And this scribal work feels like a sleepy prayer, tying you to their world. You count 16 sheep, 17 sheep. The night softening like a dream, you're half inside. The workshop's glow is your haven. And you're ready to drift deeper into Nippur's sleepy heart. One woolly wedge at a time, you're slipping out of the scribal workshop. The scribe's faint stylus scratches fading as you step back into Nippur's quiet streets. The rain's gentle patter greets you, speckling your tunic and that wool blanket still slung over your shoulder. Its sheepy scent, a reminder of the clay sheep tokens you just saw. You're counting 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep each number, a soft tug toward sleep. The scribe's late-night hustle lingering in your mind. The village is hushed. Mud brick houses dark under a moonlit sky. But you're not ready for your reed mat yet. Your feet carry you toward an open field just outside the village, where a dusk festival hums with calm celebration under twilight. Let's join this gentle gathering, where Sumerians honor their gods and flocks, and see if its serene vibes can lull you deeper into the night. You wander into the field, the rain's soft drone blending with the murmur of voices and the trill of a reed flute. The festival is small, lit by oil lamps hung on wooden poles, their flames flickering like grounded stars. Villagers, wrapped in wool cloaks, gather in loose circles, sharing barley beer and flatbreads. Their laughter soft under the twilight sky. A group of children chase each other, clutching clay sheep figurines, while elders nod to the flute's melody. You settle on a damp reed mat, the air smelling of roasted sesame and wet grass, and count 4 sheep, 5 sheep, each number syncing with the festival's quiet rhythm. Here's your mainstream fact: Sumerian festivals, around 3000 BCE, often honored gods like Inanna or Nana, with tablets from Uruk describing dusk gatherings to celebrate harvests or lunar cycles, frequently involving sheep offerings. You spot a priestess, her robe fringed with wool, leading a lamb to a small altar piled with reeds and dates. She mutters prayers, thanking Nana for the flocks that sustain Nippur. The lamb's calm, nibbling a stray reed, and you smirk, thinking it's got a better deal than the sheep out in Enki's rainy floodplain. You think about that wool blanket, maybe woven for a festival like this, its fibers tying you to this sacred moment. Now, for the quirky tidbit, some festivals featured sheep dances, where villagers mimicked flock movements to honor fertility gods, believing it ensured abundant wool and lambs. You notice a few young men, slightly tipsy on barley beer, shuffling in a clumsy circle, their arms flapping like woolly wings. You stifle a laugh, imagining them practicing this in secret. Historians still argue whether these dances were common or just a quirky tradition in smaller villages like Nippur. But you're betting they were a hit. Sumerians loved their sheep too much to skip the choreography. You count 6 sheep, 7 sheep, the rhythm soothing, your eyelids drooping. The flute player shifts to a slower tune, its notes weaving through the rain like a lullaby. You lean back, the mat damp but cozy, and watch a woman pass around a clay jug of beer, her smile warm despite the drizzle. The festival's vibe is gentle, not the wild party you'd expect, more like a community picnic with divine vibes. You think about those moonlit farmers from the fields, maybe here now, sharing bread after their chores. You count 8 sheep, 9 sheep, your breath slowing, the lamplight softening the world. Joke number 1. Why do Sumerians dance at festivals? To keep the flock rocking. You chuckle, the sound lost in the rain. But the villagers keep chatting, their voices a sleepy hum. Sumerian festivals were about connection to gods, to flocks, to each other. You spot a child clutching a clay sheep, maybe a gift from the night market, and think about those bedtime stories you heard. Their lamb-filled fables echoed in this gathering. The priestess finishes her prayer. The lamb led away. And you feel a pang of peace, like Nippur's holding you in its quiet embrace. You count 10 sheep, 11 sheep, the numbers blurring, the flute's melody a lullaby. The Sumerians made every moment a ritual, and this festival feels like a sleepy prayer, tying you to their world. The rain slows to a misty drizzle, and you shift on the mat, your tunic damp but warm under the blanket. A group of elders start a soft chant, their voices rising and falling like waves, and you wonder if they're counting sheep in their heads too. You count 12 sheep, 13 sheep, your eyelids heavy. The festival's glow fading into the twilight. Joke 2, what's a Sumerian festival's best dish unique? Flatbread. You grin, but the field's calm pulls you back, urging you to keep counting 14 sheep, 15 sheep. The festival thins, villagers drifting home, their lamps bobbing like fireflies. You think about how this gathering ties to the counting sheep trick. It's about rhythm, about finding peace in shared moments, whether herding or celebrating. You count 16 sheep, 17 sheep, the night softening like a dream you're half inside. Nippur's festival is a sleepy heartbeat, and you're part of it, ready to drift deeper into the village's quiet world. One woolly step at a time, you're easing away from the festival field. The flute's soft trill and villagers' murmurs fading as you slip back into Nippur's quiet streets. The rain's gentle patter follows, speckling your tunic and that wool blanket still slung over your shoulder. Its sheepy scent, a reminder of the clay sheep figurines from the celebration. You're counting 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep, each number a cozy pull toward sleep. The festival's calm lingering in your mind. The village is hushed, mud brick houses dark under a moonlit sky, and now your feet finally carry you back to your own reed mat. where the Sumerian night invites you to drift into dreams. Before we sink into this final moment, let's pause for one last check-in with you, my sleepy listeners. Hey everyone, we've reached the end of our journey. Have you drifted off to sleep yet? If you're still awake, drop a comment with your city and how you're feeling. Maybe snuggled up with the rain sounds wrapping you in calm. I'm recording this at 10:06 p.m. Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. And the rain's got me ready to snooze. If you're already dreaming, I wish you a deep, restful sleep filled with starry fields and woolly sheep. Let's ease back into Nippur, the rain's soft whisper guiding you to your mat, where dreams await. You push open the door to your mud brick house, the air cool and scented with damp clay and fading embers. The rain's steady drone taps the flat roof, blending with the faint bleats of sheep from the floodplain, a sound that's followed you all night. You settle onto your reed mat, the straw creaking under you, and pull that wool blanket up to your chin. Its warmth a hug from Sumer's flocks. You're counting 4 sheep, 5 sheep, each number a step toward dreams. The village is quiet, wrapping you in its embrace. Here's your mainstream fact. Sumerians, around 3000 BCE, viewed sleep as a divine journey, with tablets from Nippur describing dreams as messages from gods like Enlil, often filled with sheep as symbols of peace. You picture yourself sinking into sleep, your soul wandering the starry fields you've walked tonight, maybe meeting a golden ewe like in those festival myths. The mat's not comfy by modern standards, but it's home, and the rain's rhythm makes it feel like a cloud. You smirk, thinking modern insomniacs with their memory foam might envy this simple setup. Rain and sheep included. Now for the quirky tidbit. Some Sumerians believed sleeping under a wool blanket invited dream ewes, spirit sheep that guided you to restful visions. You tug the blanket closer, its coarse fibers suddenly magical, and imagine a fluffy ewe trotting through your dreams, courtesy of Nana's lunar blessing. Historians still argue whether this belief was widespread or a poetic fancy, but you're betting it was real. Sumerians saw sheep everywhere, even in their sleep. You count 6 sheep, 7 sheep, the rhythm soothing, your eyelids heavy as the night settles in. The house is silent, save for the rain and your slowing breath. You think about everything you've seen Enki's flock, the ziggurats' prayers, the weaver's looms, the festival's glow, each moment tied to sheep, to sleep, to this counting trick that's carried you through Nippur. You count 8 sheep, 9 sheep, the numbers blurring, the world softening. Joke number 1. Why do Sumerian dreams love sheep? Because they're woolly and chanting. You chuckle, the sound muffled by the rain, but the mat's calm pulls you back, urging you to keep counting. You shift, the straw poking your side like an ancient prank, and let the rain's patter guide you. The Sumerians made sleep a ritual, from porridge to prayers, and you're part of it now, lying here as they did, counting 10 sheep, 11 sheep. You think about that clay sheep figurine from the temple, maybe left by someone dreaming as you are now. The night feels like a gift, a chance to wander Sumer's soul, and you're ready to let go, to drift into its starry embrace. Joke 2, what's a Sumerian's best dream? A flock-filled snooze. You grin, but the rain's lullaby tugs you deeper. Your count's 12 sheep, 13 sheep fading into a haze. The village is asleep, its heartbeat slow and steady, and you're sinking with it. The blanket's warmth, a final nod to Nippur's flocks. You count 14 sheep, 15 sheep, each one a woolly star, guiding you to dreams where Sumer's fields stretch forever, and the rain never stops. Wind down. You're sinking now, deeper into the mat. The rain's gentle whisper softening to a sigh. The Sumerian night cradles you, its starry sky a blanket of its own. Each twinkle a sheep you've counted, guiding you to rest. Your breath slows, long and easy. The village is quiet, folding over you like a mother's lullaby. The wool blanket, warm and heavy, carries the scent of fields and flocks, a reminder of Nippur's heart. You're not just sleeping, you're dreaming with the Sumerians, wandering their starry plains, where sheep graze under a crescent moon. The rain falls lighter now, a tender kiss, and your thoughts drift, soft and weightless, into a world where time pauses and peace is all that remains. Let the night take you, let the sheep lead you, and rest, knowing you've walked with history. Sleep well, my friend, and let the stars keep watch.